Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This is always exciting to talk to new people about what we're doing. I don't know, I'm short, so you might not be able to see me over there. Can we move it? Yeah, we can move it because I'll just use this. Well, so thank you for having me. Thank you, Pastor Larry and Sadie, for inviting me. The more I get to talk to people in the community about Elevate Lebanon, the better, because we are new. A lot of people, like you guys, have heard of us, but you don't really necessarily know what we're doing. So our mission is, as you see, it's empowering our neighbors to reach their full potential. And we have a few different ways that we can do that. To give you a little bit of a background, the cool thing about our program is we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. So when people support our organization, you're supporting a lot of the other nonprofits in town that already exist because we collaborate with them. So we're not competing, we're not working against them, we're working with them. So in short, we're like a one-stop shop. So instead of individuals, because usually when somebody needs one thing, they need multiple things. If they need housing assistance, they probably need utility assistance. They probably have food insecurity. They might need clothing. They might need some other thing that they're missing, and it's a basic need, so it's important. So what they can do is they can come to us, and they don't have to go to COPE and MOCA and Crosslines and the food pantries and all of those places separately. We will connect them to all of those places that already exist. Because a lot of times, too, these people don't have transportation. So for them to try to arrange to go here today, then go there tomorrow, and then they're trying to work, and they're trying to, manage their kids, and they don't have daycare, and there's just all these barriers that they experience every day, we try to remove that. So the collaboration with the other nonprofits is really, really important. And I've been working really hard to build those relationships and build those bridges. I don't know if you're familiar with CoLab, Ramsey Stewart's newest venture, but we did back in November on the annual Giving Tuesday. It's a nonprofit, too, that highlights other nonprofits to give on Tuesdays. But this one in November was their annual one. So I made a big deal about it, and I think I had 16 of our local nonprofits join me, and basically what we did is we just kind of did like little video podcasts. We went live on Facebook, and it gave everybody, those nonprofits that joined me, it gave them a chance. They took like 3 or 5 minutes each to talk about what they do in the community and what they need from the community in order to continue to do what they're doing. So that was really, really cool. And then we recently had a homeless event that you may or may not have heard of at the Mills Center. It was on January 26th, I believe. And we were able to serve 134 homeless people that day. And there was 20 nonprofits that I was able to join us. They all had their booths set up, and they were providing services on site, free services. And then if they couldn't provide it that day, they were at least setting these people up for services going forward. There was kids there, adults there. The food pantry at the market, at the Life Point Market, they were donating a bunch of food to us anyways to give away that day for people. But it also is a God thing because they had their shipment that day and they didn't have enough room to put everything that was on that truck. So we had lettuce, we had fruits and vegetables, we had all these things that we weren't expecting, and it was all gone. And we did all of that in 3 hours. We served 134 homeless people in 3 hours. So it was really, really, really exciting. On this, I don't know, is it up there? You can go to the next slide. This one shows our board, which I do need to update this. We've had a few changes, but by collaborating, our board really is on a mission to be built upon people that are in all of those nonprofits. So that way we're already directly meeting once a month. I began on the board because I was working at Jordan Valley, so I represented the medical and dental and behavioral health services. But then once a paid position opened up, I said, I want to be with you guys full time. So then I stepped off of the board, and now I work for Elevate Lebanon. And I'll talk about more specifically what I do once we get to that. I don't want to jump around because then I'll ramble. But this gives you an idea of all of the people and organizations that we work with on a regular basis. So this kind of goes through what I've already talked about on the next slide. We are addressing what's the root cause of poverty, why they're in the situation they're in. So we really pride ourselves on being a hand up, not a hand out. And so we build relationships. So it's not just about, oh, you need food, oh, you need clothing, oh, you need help with your rent this month. It's going forward, how are we going to get you out of that situation? So you're not going to the churches every month and asking for help. You're not going to the food pantry every 2 weeks. You're not going to the thrift store and volunteering because you need stuff every week or every month. So we try to figure out what are your barriers and how are we going to get over those barriers. And it is a faith-based program. I haven't really talked about that, but it is faith-based, which I think is really awesome. And personally, it's awesome for me because it's brought me closer to God, and I recently started going back to church, and so I have my own little testimony about that as well, but we won't get into all that. But we are really big on integrity and dignity. We don't want anybody to be ashamed or be embarrassed because it takes a lot to ask for help, at least from the people that truly want help and want to get out of their situation. So we try to provide a very welcoming environment, and that's why we don't call our clients, we call them our neighbors, because that's what they are. They're our neighbors, and we need to help our neighbors. And then what we'll get into later, too, is essentially the only way out of poverty is income, right? You have to have money to buy things. You have to have money to pay your rent or your mortgage or your utilities or to buy clothes or to buy food. So that is a separate program that's really, really important, and that's my baby. So I am the program director for Elevate Work. And here we go to the next one. So this is where we'll break it down. We have 3 different departments. We've got Elevate Connections, we've got Elevate Thrift, and then we have Elevate Work. So Elevate Connections, we are what's called a coordinated point of entry. So we are the only organization in Laclede County that is this title. And what that means is we are responsible to report back to the state and to the IRS, through the federal side of it, our homeless population. And that was the purpose of our homeless event back in January, was to get a count of the homeless. And that's really, really hard to do because they don't want attention. They don't want to, and we were literally having to go through woods. Renee, who's over our connections department, she had a machete and literally went through woods over near Long Lane, because she did Dallas County, and she found 16 homeless people. One guy was actually living in a tree. So, you know, we have to physically go out there and find these people and find their camps. The homeless event helped entice them to come to us, so that was really important, but we physically did have to go out into these very unsafe, I guess, and precarious situations. Luckily, though, when we come with goodie bags of hygiene items and food and things like that, they're willing to talk to us. And they don't have to give us any of their identification, their name, their birthday, none of that. We just have to literally say, we counted this many people in this situation. And there's also what's called sheltered homeless. So that's people that are living with other people. You would be amazed how many youth we have that are homeless, because they're not homeless on the streets, but they're homeless, technically homeless, because they're living with someone that's not their custodial guardian. You know, it's not their permanent residence. So that's where, too, I'll backtrack a little bit on why we came about in Lebanon, is because it's the transitioning point from Project 360, or the Sound House. So after they hit 20, Project 360 and the Sound House can no longer help these kids. That's just part of how the program works. So Patty Brayfield was like, what do we do with them if they're not done needing services once they hit 20? They're just out to fend for themselves, and we can just kind of point them in the right direction, but there's nothing Project 360 could really physically do. So Patty found Elevate Branson. Back in January of 2020 is when she established Elevate Lebanon. So we were able to piggyback off of what Elevate Branson has done, which has saved us a lot of time and money and mistakes, because they told us all the do's and the don'ts. They gave us their curriculum for the work program. They've given us all the marketing materials. It's been really awesome working with them. And they've been doing it for 15 years. So we know it works, and that's why we can believe in it without being as established as they are, because they are proof that their programs really work. So we're only mimicking 3 of their programs right now, but hopefully we'll have the tiny home community like they have. I think they've got 50 tiny homes they just finished to help with the homeless situation in the Branson area. They have a cafe, they have their thrift store as well. They also have their own church. That's how it started, was through their church. We don't have our own church because we just kind of right now want to spread it out to everybody until we can get enough to have our own campus, and then we'll hopefully grow into something even bigger just like they are. They feed the homeless every Thursday. They have an after-school program. So they have a lot of really awesome things going on. So anyways, Patty went and saw them a few times. Then once I was on the board, I went there 4 times to see what their programs were, and we decided this is what we need to do. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of background. So on the connection side, though, that's where if people have any kind of insecurity or need assistance, utilities, etc., that's where they go. Renee is over that. She's the director, and her office is at the L Life building. Since we don't have a campus, we're all kind of spread out a little bit. And then, again, this is where the collaboration happens. So people come to her. They're like, I need this, I need this, I need this. Okay. Do we need to get in touch with MOCA? I'll help you fill out your application. Oh, you need Medicaid? Okay, I'll help you fill that out. Oh, you need behavioral health services? Okay, let's call Compass. Or we have a few other private counselors that we can use. So she is that central contact, and then it helps them not have to just run all over town or just not even know where to go, and then they don't get any help at all. So it's a really, really important piece. We're also the first agency in Laclede County to get HUD funding, which we don't have any right now. We're still working on that. And that was the big purpose of the homeless count, is when we tell Congress this is how many homeless, roughly, that we have in Lebanon, which is truly about, we're guessing about 800. We only counted so many, but they know that's because we just can't find them all. Then that goes to Congress, and then they can decide that HUD funding, who gets a piece of it. So if we don't count, we don't get anything. So it's really important, and we have to do this every January. So every January we're going to have this homeless event since it went so well this past January. And you guys can get involved in that. Just get on Facebook. You always see our events and our website and things like that. And that'll be at the end of this, how you can keep in contact. So then we'll go on to Elevate Thrift. So the thrift store is more than just a thrift store. Yes, it does help provide revenue. In fact, it's been our saving grace right now since we are so new. We don't have a lot of grant funding yet. We don't have a lot of local sponsors yet, or real big donors involved yet. So it's paid our operational funds. It's kept our head above water. But the other parts that are really important is the Elevate Work participants. They can volunteer there to pay their application fee for the work program. They can volunteer there to get soft skills like how to count change, how to use a register, how to do customer service, retail, even management experience, merchandise experience, things like that. So it's important for work training. We also, in fact, we just did this yesterday and Monday. We prepare our work participants for interviewing in real life, and so we use the thrift store donations to put together an interview outfit, and they get to keep it, and so of course it's no cost to them. And then we do head to toe, jewelry, shoes, you name it, they need a belt, the whole works. And then if we don't have something that they need there just because we don't have their size or whatnot, we'll go to Act 2 and we will buy the rest of it there. If we can't find it there, we'll go to Walmart, we'll do whatever we have to do to set them up to feel that they are, let's see, physically or aesthetically ready to interview. And we did that this week because Tuesday is our business panel night at the work program, and we have local business managers, business owners, HR people that our participants will get to do their 60-second commercial. So, or an elevator speech is what some people call it. So they'll wear their interview outfit, and it's a lot of fun. Another thing that anybody can use that thrift store for is what's called our rewards program. So if you can't financially afford something, maybe you've just finally gotten to an apartment, something like that, but you don't have dishes, or you do need an interview outfit for something, but you don't have the money to buy it and you're not part of our work program. You can volunteer for every 4 hours a week, you get $20 of credit. So you basically get store credit for things that you need. So I really like that part because it really promotes the hand up, not hand out. And we also, with the collaboration, if they don't want to do the thrift store, they can volunteer at Fostering Hope Closet. If you're familiar with that, they're on East 32. They can also volunteer at Claws and Paws. So we try to make it enjoyable for them to earn credit towards what they need. They can also use the rewards program if they need to pay, like if they need their ID in order to apply for a job, or their birth certificate, but they don't have the money to pay those fees. They can volunteer at any of those 3 places, and that will cover that fee. And then we have the Elevate Work program. So this is what sets us apart from the other nonprofits. It's a 9-week course every Tuesday and Thursday. What we do is we have a computer class at 4 o'clock, which is optional. That part's not required. So if people need basic computer skills, we were able to get 5 laptops through a donation from First State Community Bank. So this is our first session that we've been able to offer that, and it's really, really valuable. And then at 5 o'clock, we feed them dinner, and then at 6 o'clock is class. So 6 to 8 is mandatory. We'll provide transportation if they need it. We will provide childcare if they need it. So we try to remove any barrier or excuse, like as I like to call it, from attending the class. They're also assigned a mentor, which is probably the most valuable piece of the program. That's their emotional support person. So where we get mentors is volunteers. So just people in the community that want to get involved in our programs. It's not a long-term commitment unless they want it to be. I have mentors that come back every 9-week program, every 9 weeks. And we have 4 of them a year. We just have small breaks in between each group. But the mentors are assigned, one mentor is assigned to each participant. That way that participant has someone that they can call, that they can spend a little extra time with if there was a task in our curriculum that they didn't understand, or they need to practice their elevator speech, or they need help shopping for their interview outfit, and maybe my schedule doesn't work with theirs, but it does with the mentor. So it's like I said, it's just really that extra support. I think the most important thing they get out of it is confidence. I had somebody, my favorite question somebody asked me was, why do they need you? Why can't they just go online and fill out an application? Why can't they just use the resume template? Why can't they go to the library and do it? They don't even know how to do that. They don't know where to start because they come from generational poverty. So they've never had anybody say, hey, you're really good at this, or you're valuable, or you're important, or you're special, or you can do this. All they've heard is, you can't do that. You don't know how to do that. Why would you do that? It's just negative, 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 because that's how their parents were and their grandparents were, and they just have this environment that is very toxic. So with the mentors, they have that additional person saying, all right, what do you need help with? You can do this. Oh, you're really good at that. What do you like to? Oh, let's do this. And they do stuff outside of the class. They don't have to, but most of them do because they build a really good friendship that helps with social skills. Like Carolyn and her husband, they took a couple of brothers that were in our last class. They took them fishing. They took them volunteering. Just a lot of life skills. They took them to their farm and taught them how to install windows in one of their properties. So there's a lot of life skills and social skills that they can get out of the mentor relationship as well. And that confidence boost is really what helps them. Yes, we can with the resume and the application process and the interview process, but if they don't have confidence in themselves, it's not going to matter what you teach them because they're not going to know how to apply it once they're out of the program. And we do not graduate everybody. It's not a participation trophy. We do have a graduation where they have a cap and gown, which is really fun. We have it at the Hive. We do a whole cake and a whole ceremony, and it's a lot of fun. But if they miss more than 2 classes, they do not graduate because we treat them just as if we were their employer. You can't just not go to work and expect to have your job when you come back. So they can't miss more than 2 classes, and they also have to be engaged. So there's been one that I couldn't graduate because his head was down the whole time, or he was on his phone the whole time, and he wasn't participating, he wasn't asking questions, he wasn't answering questions. I kind of pride ourselves on that because I want people to put that they were Elevate Work graduate, and people will be like, oh, let's at least get their foot in the door. We know that program is really valuable. I don't want to build a reputation that's like, oh, the work program, big deal, because they graduate everybody, people that aren't really ready for the workforce. So what we do with those people that may not be ready is we just encourage them to come back to the next class. We say, hey, you're missing this, this, and this. You're not quite there yet. You can still finish the course and get what you can out of it, but you're not going to graduate. You need to come back to the next session and let's work on these things that you're still lacking. You just need more time. So we never discourage them. We try to turn it into a positive thing. Because a lot of them, they have a lot of challenges. A lot of it's mental health. Some of them truly have disabilities. And so as I've learned in the work, being involved in the work program, I'm building a relationship with the Career Center and the vocational rehab that is at the Career Center usually a couple times a month. So if I identify a person that has been diagnosed with a disability that is prohibiting them from being a good employee for whatever reason, then I connect them with the Career Center and I connect them with vocational rehab, and they will do an assessment on them, and a lot of times they will qualify to work at Laclede Industries or some other employer that will hire people with disabilities so that they can still feel productive, they can still maintain an income, and it improves their mental health because they're not just sitting at home thinking, oh, I'm just going to get disability, I'm not worth anything, I don't have anything to offer. So that's been a really good blessing for us to build that relationship over there. So we kind of skipped over, but that just talks more about the mentors, how we pair them, each participant with the mentor. They help them with the session, they help them with their homework. And the homework's not like school homework. Most of them can get it done in class. So I always try to tell them that so they're not discouraged. And then, so we're getting towards the end. A lot of people say, well, how can you help? I mean, yes, financially, that's always a nice thing because it does help pay for the dinners. It does, because we feed them, 17 times every 9 weeks. And when we're feeding about 15 people, it can get pretty expensive. So financially is always nice. It also helps print off our materials, buy new binders, because every time we have a new class, we've got to get all new stuff. We have been really grateful for Jordan Valley because they let us use their meeting rooms for free. So we've had a huge savings in that department. But honestly, the biggest value for me personally with the work program is volunteers. I always need mentors. I even have some people that will make meals for us. So say that financially it's not something that they want to do, they don't want to just write a check to us, they will get together and they will pledge a couple meals or one meal every month or something like that. So you can help in a lot of different ways that it's not going to put you out or be too much of a commitment because we all have our lives and all of that stuff. But mentors is a big one, which is somewhat of a small commitment, Tuesdays and Thursdays for a 9-week period of time, and it is in the evenings. Opportunities like this to talk to churches, to talk to civic groups, to talk to anybody I can talk to. It could even be your employer. We try to get a lot of the factories involved because a lot of our participants would be good employees for a factory position, and that would be good pay for them, it'd be full-time, it would be benefits, so I even try to talk to businesses whenever I can. So if you guys have anybody in mind that you'd like me to talk to and present to, I'm going to leave my business cards out there on the welcome desk counter, so you just take my cards, you can text me, email me, whatever you want to do, call me. And then, of course, the thrift store, you can donate. So if you've got clothing that you need to get rid of, if you've got some small furniture you need to get rid of, we try not to take too many appliances just because you never know if they really work. Let's see, housewares, decorative stuff, if you're like redoing your living room and you don't know where to take all of those pictures and vases and things like that, we take everything. Books, toys, kids' clothes for sure. And then something that's not in the slide that I'll just talk about really quick, and we can talk personally outside of this presentation, is we do have NAP tax credits. So NAP tax credits, what they are is it stands for Neighborhood Assistance Program, and it's through Missouri State. There's a couple other states that offer it as well. But if you have any kind of business income, whether you own a business, maybe you have rental properties, maybe you have a farm and you have livestock, that's considered business income. If you buy NAP tax credits from us, what that does is it doesn't save you on your taxes that you're going to owe on your business income, but it allows you to put 70% back into your community, and the state only gets the 30% to spend it on whatever they decide. So that's really cool, and that helps our programs a lot. A lot of people already do it for Project 360 and Cope House and MOCA and things like that. And so what I tell them, I'm like, hey, if there's any way you can put aside some for us, you're not taking away from those other organizations because we're already working with them. And a lot of times we will come together. Like last month, we had an individual that had a pretty big, I think it was a utility bill. And so between MOCA, ourselves, the Ministerial Alliance, and another organization, I don't remember who it was because I'm not in the middle of the connections department all the time. Between the four of us, we were able to all put our money, pool it together, and so that way it was not one organization had that burden on their shoulders, because sometimes it can be a lot of money. So, do you guys have questions? It's kind of a lot of information all at once. And I'm a little nervous, so I might have talked really fast. Yeah. Okay, so you know where Wainers used to be? On Madison? So the address is, what is it, 138 North Madison? So if you're, what's the best way to explain it? You know where Mel's on Madison and the rail is? That little four-way right there. If you turn in between, depending on which direction you're coming from, but turn in between where Mel's and the rail is across the street, you just turn down that side of Madison. We're literally right behind Mel's. So it goes Mel's Diner and then the alley, and then we're right there. So you can't miss us. And you guys are also welcome to volunteer at the thrift store. Megan runs it by herself, so whenever she gets people to volunteer, she's happy. She said it's good for her mental health to not be there alone all day. So, anything else? All right. Well, thank you guys. Yep, I'm good.